As you can see here, this is a little bit long. I'm trying to adjust everything. I started the camera before I was really ready. Here I'm using Apple Barrel Black. Way too much of it. You don't really need that much for what I'm doing. You'll see towards the end, I had a lot of trouble with my camera, so I had to cut this video short, so there'll be a two-part. So I'm using Master's Touch Cobalt Blue. Again, well, that wasn't too much, but I tend to use more paint than I need to. And then there was Basics Dioxazine Purple. Hopefully once you get this video up on your computer or your laptop, you'll be able to read this stuff. And that is Master's Touch Titanium White that I'm using. This is just for the background, which is nothing fancy, and as you'll see in part 2, I wound up not liking my background all that much. And so I will change it a little bit more in part 2. So that was an 8x10 canvas used for demonstration purposes, and for some reason or another, my tripod was really super aggravating me during this video. I kept hitting my brush with it, and it was just, I was having a bad day when I made this, but that's okay. It still came out reasonably okay. And there is a 1-inch flat that I was using. Just all I did was wet it in water and wipe the excess water off. Dipped into the titanium white and the black and just spread the stuff on the canvas. You want to make it as splotchy as possible, and if you're going to not put it in a frame, you're probably going to want to make sure you paint your edges of the canvas for a gallery style hang, which means you just hang the canvas. You don't need a frame. I like that because it's cheaper, and most artists like cheaper stuff, because art supplies can be expensive, and frames in particular so. I'm not trying to make the frame a solid black, and I'm sorry I keep going out of frame. I use my telephone to record with on a tripod, and I was apparently just not getting it together. See, I kept adding in white so it doesn't really look so black, and it looks more blotchy. That's more of the style. My style is more abstract, not so rigid or formal. And I want it to match my background more. That's why it is different colors, because the background is also going to be different colors. Nothing special, just trying to get it covered with paint. And as you see, I succeeded in getting my hand covered as well. The canvas and the tripod and everything wasn't really working too well for me yesterday. Hopefully when I do part 2, it'll get a little better. And that's still just black and white paint with a little of the purple. And you'll see me using some blue, just so the background's not boring. Because God forbid your background should be boring. That would be like worse than death. One mistake that I keep making with my backgrounds is I tend to blend them a little too much, Yeah, so be aware that it's not supposed to be a smooth color. It's supposed to be more mottled than I'm actually getting this here. That's something I need to work on, making, a decent mottled background. But in the same respect, this is, most of it will be covered by your sun anyway, or star or compass or whatever you're choosing to call it. On there, I'm just trying to add in some blue. One side is warm with the purple, and the other side is blue with the cooler with the blue, sorry. Like I said, it doesn't matter so much. You can always go back and change your background. Just so long as it's modeled and the way you like it. If it's not the way you like it, remember you can always change it later, but it's your painting, so you're the one that needs to be happy with it. And I actually forgot to put down my background that I normally use, and I use just the table, which the canvas kind of moved around a lot, as you can tell. And like I said, I am using just my telephone, which is not the best video recording device you can have. So anyone has one they want to donate, I'll take it. I'm not proud. I need equipment. So this video is actually for a class that's being held on the last day in September, which is September 30th. It's a Saturday. It's from 12:30 to 3:30. All the supplies for that class are provided. Oopsie, I got done and I gave myself a thumbs up there. And now all I'm doing is drying it with my heat tool, so that I can draw on this background. Because for once I plan out how I'm going to do this sun, because I want it to be, yes, and don't forget to dry off your edges there, especially if you're going to get it anywhere near your clothing. Like I said, this is one of the more mathematical type drawings I've done, just simply because I want the composition to be, sorry about my head there, that happens to be a Prang white colored pencil. Yes, I held that up just so you could see that. It came in focus. I did a good job, didn't I? So you take your ruler and you find center. Wrong ruler, as we discovered. Oh, look, I got one fingernail painted black. What you really want, well, you don't have to have a zeroing ruler, but it's helpful. And there it is. Not that you can see it because it's clear with red writing, but in the center there is a 0, and you have to, because it's clear, you have to be able to see through it. There where my finger is, that's 0. And you want to have the same amount of inches and fractions of inches on both sides of the 0, and that will give you the center. So I do that on all 4 sides. I know it's boring watching. So you can feel free to increase the speed, because this is kind of like watching paint dry. And it's often better to measure twice, make sure you know what you've got before you draw your lines in, because as you will see, I messed up. And it looks, I can really tell I'm messing up there. Took forever to get that in there, didn't I? Mostly because it's hard to see the lettering on the ruler on a dark background. And when you're half blind as a bat, and I could not, for some reason or another, find my glasses at that point, my reading glasses. So anyway, to get back to this class, we're going to be doing like a yin-yang sun symbol in red and gold. I already did a bigger one in silver and gold with a bluish purplish background, which you can see on my Facebook channel, which is Edith Mary Stanley on Facebook, or Fine Art and Foolery on Facebook. And you can see what that one looks like. But hang in there and you can see what the red and gold one looks like too. So here I'm just drawing a line down the center of my canvas on both sides. Oh look, it's not right. Oops, that's what I mean about, exactly, don't do that. Don't fall into the measure once, cut twice category. Let's do it right the first time by checking it twice, which I did not do. Oh, okay. I really prefer to use a chalk pencil, but my chalk pencil disappeared. That's why we're using the Prang colored pencil, which doesn't draw quite as well as the chalk. Just means I need to put out some dollar bills to. So you can see I'm checking the other side just to be on the safe side, so I don't have to continuously draw incorrect lines. Yeah, I did it right on that side. Okay. So just connect the dots. It only looks wonky. It really is an 8 by 10 with even sides, but I guess it's the way I angled my camera. And then we want to connect the corners together through the center of that other one. And that's going to give us 8 points to choose from. You could do more, but on a smaller canvas, it's just not necessarily advisable. And because it's an 8 by 10, it's not square, so it's going to be centered in the project, on the canvas, rather, centered in the canvas, rather than perfectly square, because on the other one I used a round canvas, so I was able to get 16 points, to where this one's going to only render less than that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to count as I'm going through this video. Sorry for the long pause. Whoops, nope, wrong size. So I'm going through the cupboards at the moment trying to find an appropriate size. And I'm taking forever. Ah, found a cup. So I want to make sure the cup is reasonably centered before drawing the circle around it. I mean, it's not like you can't redo it. You certainly can, but I like to do things once. Ta-da! There we go. Not quite centered, but enough, close enough. So we begin on the long points by adding in the flame-looking whatever you call those things sticking out from your rays. I'm sorry, went a little brain dead. I went over about a quarter of the way to start on each side of my line. And I'm making it into an irregular shape because it is supposed to look like a flame. And so each one I did okay, I see what I did here. I was measuring the length of the ray so I would know how long to make the others, because you want to make them even, because you don't really want like a super wonky looking star. So that's why I measured each one of them, wound up being 2 inches outside the circle. 2 inches long outside the circle. And as you can see, we're not finished with the measuring even when we get these done, because we're just drawing in our flame shapes, because in between each of the flame shapes are going to be the pointed rays. So this particular piece is going to take planning, but it's nothing we can't do. Looks like I messed up on one there. Oops, wait. Okay, we're back to drawing in our rays. And avoid, if you can, making all of the rays the same shape. Excuse me. You don't want them all the same shape. You want them to be fairly irregular. But within reason, because you don't want it also to be so not matching that it winds up looking wackadoodle. A lot of my work looks wackadoodle anyway. Those bright spots there were actually wax that had spilled on my canvas, and wax melted underneath the paint. That's why it looks like that, which is okay, because I'll cover it with more wax. I mean, not wax. God, I'll cover it with more paint as we go. The reason this video is probably a little not like it should be is because I'm using a brand new software for my telephone. And I'm not quite figured out how to work it yet, but because the class is coming up, I wanted to get something out for you to preview. Try hard to get a chalk pencil or use pastel pencils, because colored pencil is not quite as easy to remove. All I did there was take a wet brush and go over it and then wipe it out. And thank God it's the background, because I was going to redo that anyway. So I'm working on the straight rays rather than the curved ones that look like flames. These look more like starbursts. So I'm just measuring out the length I wanted them, which was again the same length as the flame type rays. I wanted them to be 2 inches out from the center circle. So while we go ahead watching me draw lines on a canvas, I know it's a little hard to see, but hang in there. It becomes a little bit more apparent as we go along. I just wanted to let you know I would appreciate it if you liked and shared and subscribed, obviously, to my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel. Either one, either Edith, Mary, Stanley, or Fine Art and Foolery, whichever. It doesn't matter, because I share everything everywhere anyway. So it's not like you're going to get a chance to miss it. I make sure you see everything. So yeah, I do appreciate likes, because everybody likes to be appreciated, and it's just one way of knowing that you're being appreciated. So always make sure your ruler is going through that center point so that everything lines up. And subscribing is always good. That way you stay tuned into my work, what I'm doing, and classes that I give, and tutorials and stuff like that. So I also have a Patreon page, or Patreon, sorry, a Patreon page, to which I haven't done anything with for a while, but I always post my videos on Patreon as well. So if you feel up to supporting me, I would appreciate that, because it's very difficult to make a living as an artist, or even a teacher. I don't teach in schools, so making a living as an independent teacher is not easy. So I do appreciate your support, your appreciation. Even if you don't donate, I appreciate you watching, because I like to show off. Okay, so oh, I must have messed up. Oh, I did, didn't I? I totally got that one all wacky, and I had to redo that line. Always making sure, of course, that you're going through that center so that everything lines up. And the reason you can't just line them up equally on the other side, well, I guess you could, but I didn't. I measured each one individually, mostly because the flame type rays are irregular in shape. So it's going to be next to impossible. Yes, I was talking at that particular point, trying to point something out to you, and just didn't make it because I was going to narrate over this anyway. So I didn't use any sound on the video. I went to the shorter ruler because it's just easier to operate. And I'm drawing in the sides of the pointed rays, which is just a guideline that tells me where to paint. Because painting by eye is guarantees me, anyway, to have an abstract, because staying inside the lines is easier than having to imagine a line. That's why I learned early in my career to draw it in. My background is in drawing anyway, so that's not too hard to do. This one happens to be a lot of planning. I don't normally plan stuff out to this detail, but this particular design lent itself towards planning and a lot of math and trying not to draw things in, having to erase them and draw them in a second time. I promise we'll get to painting in just a second. So tell me if you like the narrated videos better, or the videos where I'm talking and doing at the same time. Because those of you who know me know that I have a hard time doing that. I have a hard time doing it and explaining what I'm doing. Looks like I have only a couple more to go. The pain's almost over. And when I came down with the straight rays, I came down behind the curved rays, so that the curved rays will be in front of the straight rays. You can see that a little more effectively as rather when I paint it on rather than this. I think we can call that ta-da. Put that ruler away. Look, I was trying to adjust. See what I did there with the lines? Is it making a little more sense now as I take it close up? I certainly hope so. So another period of me trying to get organized. Don't ask me what I was brushing off. I have absolutely no idea, because I wasn't eating while I was trying to do this. Now I have the 1/2 inch flat, And I'm just wetting it into some water, dirty water at that, and wiping off the excess water on my paint towel so that the bristles are wet but not sopping. I'm not going to drip anything anywhere. I have no idea what I was waiting for. Oh, I was trying to figure out what colors to use. I apologize. There we're getting out the patio paint, which is gold. It's really, I don't know why, but that particular bottle is hard to squeeze. It's not the stuff in the bottle. It's the bottle itself seems to be thicker. There we go. Again, way too much. And we have vermilion from Master's Touch. I kept moving it around because I didn't know which direction it was going to wind up being. So I was trying to help. And there's still the white, which I'll be using, the white and black. I found my glasses, did you notice? Now the vermilion from Master's Touch is a tad on the transparent side. Okay, that is me being unsuccessful at drawing a yin-yang freehand. There we go, that's a little better. And again, it's just a guide for the paint. There's going to be lots of highlights and shadows or lowlights in this painting. So I'm mixing on the fly because it is a little transparent. You don't want to use it all by itself. You want to tint it up or tint it down with black or white, your choice. I'm just trying to go make in the yin-yang at this particular point. Make sure your brush is a nice chisel point when you start doing those little teeny areas like we were just in. You could use any shape brush you wanted, but the chisel edge on the flats tend to help you in getting your sharp edges and staying inside the line. Sorry about my arm, but my water was someplace else. And as we're going to discover, that's not going to work either. The tripod really does take up more room than I would like, but the only alternative is to put my laptop up on some kind of a rig, which seems a little dangerous to me. Now see here, I'm taking some gold, which is very transparent. It's also a metallic. You have to mix white with it and then color over it again in a second coat. I'm using mostly white right here because I forgot how transparent it was to begin with. So we're using, again, all white as a base. That way the transparent colors show better. Yep, water's in the way. So right now, I'm just trying to keep from drifting into the red and trying to keep the circle at the same time. And as you know, a yin-yang comes to a nice sharp point. So that's why I like to use the chisel edge of the flat brush, sorry. I keep a very erratic schedule, and again, it's late at night when I'm doing this, so. Just using the brush to help me follow through with that nice round line and keeping it crisp along the edge. It's still a little wonky, but you know, little touch up here and there. As you can see a little later, I managed to work out the smoothness of the yin-yang shape. Just using the edge of the brush to nudge the paint over a little. And as you can see, I did smear some of the red, but it's not going to make all that much difference. I have no idea what that was. Probably a drink. Oh, there we go. I'm trying to dry it up with the heat tool. It's not a hair dryer, it's an actual heat tool. So if you get it more than a couple of inches to the canvas, you're going to wind up bubbling your paint. The heat coming out of it is too much to dry your hair with, so they're not interchangeable tools. Yes, watching paint dry is exciting. Okay, here we come with just the straight gold, not mixing it, and you can see what happens on the canvas. Because it's a metallic, it also has light diffusion particles in it, which means if you brush across it, you'll get a different texture. So keeping directionality in mind of your paint can help you build in your surface or your project. It can give the viewer's eye a place to go rather than a crisscross. If that's what you wanted, you could certainly do a crisscross with metallic paint. It lends itself to that basket weave kind of effect. But in this particular case, I would suggest you use the directionality of the paint to give depth and a sense of fullness, particularly in this part here. As you can see, I'm doing it in a circle-ish, semicircle, to help the viewer see that it's a big, bold, and maybe puffy. Maybe it can appear puffy, rather, optically anyway, with the way the light hits that gold paint. I'm still here, just watching myself paint. It's painful at times, isn't it? Watching it rather than doing it. I'm just trying to make sure at this point that the entire area that I intended to be gold is fully gold and not just brushed over the white, which means it's a heavy application of the gold paint. And I have no music going on in the background. YouTube frowns on that. And at this point, I'm just trying to decide whether I want the flame type rays to be gold or red. I'm actually trying to explain it. So I'm doing the pointy ones in red. So I'm putting in the red first. I'm not putting in a base even though it's slightly transparent, because it's going to be heavily shadowed. At least I think those are the... Nope, those are the ray type ones rather than the pointy straight ones. But the reason I didn't put in a base because of the lights and the shadows. And the reason I would have put in a base is because the vermilion that I'm using is sort of transparent. You can use it as a paint or a glaze. So I'm just going around at this point, painting in all the pointy one. The flame, I don't remember which one it was. Gosh. 1 second they look pointy and 1 second they look flamey, like flames. If you hear odd noises in the background, it's me slurping my peanut butter banana almond milk smoothie. It sounds a little weird, but tastes rather good. I put in some vanilla yogurt for sweetness. My all-time favorite smoothie is grapefruit with apple, vanilla yogurt, filling in with almond milk. So not only is it tasty, it's healthy for you. Okay, these are the pointy ones that I'm filling in, the straight pointy ones, because they're going behind the flame ones, which will be gold. And I promise the next video will not be as boring as this one, because I realize watching myself paint is not fun. And trying to keep you entertained at the same time. So, or should I say, not entertained, but engaged into the painting. This truly will be better in a class with other people and everybody moving at their own pace. Everybody, because the class is, I know I never finished that other thought. Because the class is being held in a different location than where I keep all my supplies, I'll be bringing a limited palette for people to use. So, obviously the red and gold are going to be good. I'll probably bring silver for silver and gold. And I might even bring, we can mix orange and black, because that would be cool for Halloween colors or fall colors. So if any of you are coming to the class and you want particular colors, just let me know and I can bring them with me. Because I have to tote around all my supplies like paintbrushes and paint and water containers, paper towels and stuff like that, and canvases. But I know we'll all have a good time. Anybody who ever has one of my classes always tells me that. They have a good time. Because I also teach for Oasis, which is a adult education, independent adult education. And I teach for them about once a month. They're over McNeil and St. Cloud. But it's a membership thing for them, for the clients. So you have to be a member to be able to take any of the classes, but they're always fun and very, very economical to take. I also teach mosaics, faux stained glass, doodling, watercolors. I haven't done an acrylic class for them because they already have an acrylic teacher, but hey, you never know. So if you're interested in doing a faux stained glass or a mosaics class, just let me know. We'll get a class together and I'll have a messy time. Mosaics is very messy. Probably why I like it so much. So it looks there. I'm just trying to keep my edge straight and trying to fill in with color. I think by now you can probably see where we're headed for this. Apparently it was getting a little transparent there, and I was really going over that one. They all do look different sizes, especially for right now, simply because they are, because they're behind another set. So what I'm doing here is painting the flame rays in white so that the gold has something to shine against. The gold itself would be more of a glaze without the white behind it. You could also put black behind it, but that would look kind of, you know what? I've never tried it. I'll have to do something with that. I've always wanted the gold to take center stage, which means I've got to pop it out with white so that the white shows through the gold and gives it its body and its color. So I do that with each of the flame rays. And I think if I'm going to narrate these videos, I need to speed them up before I start. Or if I'm going to narrate in real time as I'm going through it. I don't know yet. It's certainly easier to do, I think, in real time, but in the same respect, speeding the video up to narrate it might make it a tad easier to watch. But if you put it on full screen in YouTube, you'll be able to see a good deal of the more detail in what the areas that I'm painting. This particular piece, because it is so detailed in drawing out the shape first, it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to do. Especially considering I was using the gold. So I was basically painting the rays twice. But if you choose an opaque color, you only have to do it once. But still, it's the background is the underpaint, under color, the color under everything, so that's going to pop or not. I know I'm explaining that terribly. What I mean is the background being the underpainting is going to affect the layers on top of it as well, which is why I painting in the flame type rays more in white, so that I can put the gold over top of them. Sorry, just trying to get something else to drink. I'm trying to be nice and quiet about it. Not working, is it? So we're just continuing to fill in the flame rays, which looks a little strange right now. Everything, of course, is going to look strange because it's nowhere near finished. Sorry about that, but I promise that as we finish up, the whole painting will start to make a lot more sense. So I'm just moving the canvas around to make it more comfortable to paint, because the longer handle brushes were hitting against the tripod legs and making it next to impossible in some cases. But you should always do that. If you need to move your canvas around, then move it around. Do whatever makes you feel comfortable to paint, because if you don't turn your canvas and it's an awkward angle, you're not going to get it. And it's going to become frustrating and you'll give up. So don't do that. Do whatever it is that makes it easier for you. I do that a lot with drawing. If you're having trouble, especially with portraits and stuff, you turn it upside down and draw the lines, not the features of someone's face. It makes a difference. Trust me, it makes a difference. So flipping your canvas around can give you a different perspective and make it easier in the long run. Do you see here how it, the ray type, the flame type rays are in the foreground, and the more pointy rays go behind them? As we add in our shading, it will become much more evident. Okay, now that I've finished with all the white, it's time to start adding in the gold. And I have to dry it first, because otherwise I'll be mixing the white with the gold. And the whole point is to put the gold on top of the white so that it has something, the light has something to bounce off of. The light bounces off of the white through the gold, and that's why you see it that way. Sorry, that's me stirring my drink. I should dry off camera. I should stop the recording to dry it with the heat tool, which I'm learning an awful lot by doing this video, having to do the video this way, because YouTube is no longer going to be having their video editor. So I was forced to find a new way of doing it, and so far it's working. We'll see. All I'm doing is laying in the gold, a nice thick layer of gold, into each of the flame type rays. And in part 2, we'll do some shading and some highlighting, and finish up our piece, because I'll probably want to dry it really, really well and then go over it with a wet towel to take off. Well, actually, if I redo the background, which I do plan on doing, I'll probably be painting over those white colored pencil marks, so that you can either take them off with, a paper towel and some water, or paint over them, which is what I probably will do. So we'll probably cut this video a little short, because you get the idea of what we're doing here. So far, nothing too hard. You just have to know how to measure and know how to paint. Put block paint in, because all we're really doing right this second is color blocking. Because the shadows and the highlights will go in on top of what we have here. And that's what will give it its depth and its dimension, and make it actually look like something. In the original that I did, I also did some doodling on it to add some more interest. So that's probably what we'll wind up doing with this too, is because otherwise it's going to be a little plainer than you might like for a home decor or for a gift. So we're going to fancy it up some in part 2. Yes, I know, I didn't finish that thought either. I'm sorry. I'm not ADHD, despite the way it may seem. I do, however, have a high boredom threshold, low boredom threshold. I do get bored very easily, and I'm boring myself watching myself paint. So thank you for hanging in there with me and helping me learn how not to do videos. And I hope you do come to this class on September 30th at 12:30. It will be in Universal City, on the north side, obviously, west side, northeast side. I'm directionally challenged as well. And I really would love for you to go ahead and take that class. It's $30 per person, or $35 per person. I'm sorry, it's $35 per person. And all supplies are provided. All you do is show up and have a good time. And, well, we all have a good time, because I really do enjoy teaching as well. So I hope I see you for that. And I hope you can hang in there for a way better part 2 than we're having for part 1. So thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, share as much as you feel that this has been of value to you. Ooh, look, see the gold? Isn't it shiny? And I'll see you in part 2. So thanks so much.